can you also use this for like detecting like emotions or like anxiety or stress? Because I feel like even the person who even makes the most amount of money still has to sleep and still has to face anxiety and stress, which is like the most common things. How is it uh helping those people for you, and like tell us about that experience.
Yeah. So I also do timeline therapy. So it goes hand in hand with NLP. And timeline therapy is a holistic technique. It's working with your unconscious mind. So basically, when your brain is formed in the womb, it starts storing, I compare it to a filing cabinet. Your brain starts storing your memories or your brain files. And what the timeline therapy does is allow you to dig through your brain memories or your filing cabinet and pull out the one you want to work on. They're all there in your brain, every single memory you have. You just forgot about it. You don't think about it because it's not important, or it was trauma and you don't want to remember it, but everything is all there. So the timeline therapy is a really cool technique. It allows you to look through those memories and work on it. It allows you to work on your emotions, work on your anxiety, work on your stress, depression, um, anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt. All of these things that go on inside of you, you can work through. And what it is, discovering the first event. Um, First, I'll talk about emotions, and then I'll go into anxiety. Um, so, how you work through your negative emotions, the anger, the sadness, the fear, those kinds of things. How I explain it is each of your emotions has a string attached to it. And the
Okay.
very first time you experience anger, we'll say, you get a bead on your string. That's the very first time you ever experienced anger in your life. Now, every time you experience anger after that, you get more beads on your string. So now, 20, 30, 40, 50 years later, you have all of these beads on your string every time you've experienced anger. Now, today, something makes you angry. It goes back to that very first event and compiles all your beads together, and you respond, you react.
Okay.
And it's got all that back built up momentum behind it. So let's say you're driving on the freeway and somebody cuts you off, and that makes you angry, and you flip them off, you drive around them, you speed off, all those kinds of things that people do. It's not that person cutting you off that is making you angry, that triggered that response. It's that built up momentum behind it that you've been carrying with you, all those angry moments in your life. Now they're all together and you're lashing out or reacting in a strong way, so to speak. So that goes for every negative emotion, the sadness, the guilt, the fear. All of that momentum is built up behind it. So what the timeline therapy does, help you discover that first significant moment, that first time you got that beat, and rewrite those stories, meaning you're programmed to carry the negative part of it with you, carrying the negative anger. Oh, I remember I was teased in school. I remember, hearing my parents arguing about money. That made me angry. All of these times that you got angry, you carry that negative part with you.
Yeah.
Well, every negative has to have a positive, right? So we go back through those stories, those events, and find the positive. What was positive in that event? Hearing my parents arguing about money. Well, I survived it. I learned something. You start finding the things that are positive about it, and you carry those with you to now. So now you're still going to get angry because we're human and everybody feels that. But now you don't have that backed up emotion behind it. So now when something makes you angry, you can respond now instead of react.
Yeah.
Does that
Okay.
make sense?
So it's like Well, what if it's like I get angry like constantly, and it's like 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? Is it do you dissect like from the moment, like do you go like all the way back?
All the way back to the first significant event. An event. You could be 2 years old. You could be 3 years old when you, I don't know. I can't remember if, I don't know offhand, but if that event with hearing my parents arguing was my first impact or event with anger. But let's just say that
Yeah.
for now. So if that was the case, however old I was, 2, 3, 4 years old, you're hearing your parents arguing about money. This creates that limiting belief, but also makes you feel angry. Like
Yeah.
you're angry hearing your parents arguing. You're angry, that they're fighting. You just want it to stop. So you work on that event, and because it's the first event ever, it kind of just automatically changes all of the events behind it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like chain reaction.
Chain reaction,
Okay.
because they're all connected on your string.
So basically, though, you would remember that first event because when you're angry another time, all of those, like that's what you said, like all of those join together and make you burst out.
Yeah. So with the timeline therapy, you would work with a practitioner to discover that first event.
Yeah.
Use the timeline to dig through the brain files and the memories to find that first event. So I would help you discover what that first event was.
Yeah.
Then you can work from there. It's just about discovering it and remembering it is the first step. And then anxiety. So with anxiety, we are programmed,
Yeah.
so to speak, to carry the negative with us. To think, well, I don't want my business to fail. That's a negative. You don't want it to happen. Well, what do you want? I want my business to be successful.
Okay.
I don't think that way. We don't think about what we want to have. We think about what we don't want to have, the opposite.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I don't want to forget my cell phone when I leave the house today and I get down 2 blocks. I forgot my cell phone. I want to remember to grab my cell phone when I leave the house. So it's all in how you say it. So in society is just programmed to think about the negative, to think about the downside of it instead of the upside or the positive side. Why is that? I don't know. It's just, that's how it
Yeah.
is. So anxiety, we're just making up a negative ending to our event. So let's say I have an upcoming speaking engagement, and I'm terrified to be on this stage. Oh my gosh, what if I forget what I'm going to say? What if I fall going up the stairs? What if I, say the wrong thing? Like all these things I'm
Yeah.
thinking about, these are all negative things. So I'm getting anxious. I'm getting anxious. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be embarrassed. This is going to be horrible. All these things we're
Yeah.
thinking inside our brain, we're telling ourselves. So our anxiety is just building, growing. But what if I were to say, this is going to be the best moment. I'm going to remember my speech because I've practiced it and I know it. I'm going, even if it's not the best, I know it's my best for this moment. If you tell yourself that, the anxiety starts to go down, because the anxiety is you just creating that made up story that you're going to fail or stumble or mess up or be embarrassed. So when it comes to anxiety, if I could tell you one thing, remember this. Focus on what it is that you want as opposed to what it is that you don't want. If you can remember that and always focus on, I want to have a successful business. I want to make more money. I want to have a successful presentation. I want blank, blank, blank.
Yeah.
Instead of what you don't want, that's already changing your neurology already just by you saying that out loud.